Dennis Skinner.
I never thought I'd be involved in this debate at such a late stage in my life. I remember doing my maiden speech and I'd wait down the pits. There were 700 pits at the time. There were 700,000 miners. They were very, very much responsible for assisting the nature, both in the Second World War and after. They were very hard days, and yet I finished up in this place, mainly because they wanted me to stop another Labour candidate from getting the seat. That's the truth. And so I finished up in the Palace of Varieties. And here we are, many, many years later, discussing the very thing that I spoke about way back in 1970. It's almost like the common market coming back all over again, which it is. But I want to say from the outset that I agree with the speakers from there and there who talked about the yearly increase. We do it for a lot of things in Parliament. We increase things automatically. And when I think about this, there is no better reason for having an up rate in September or whatever it is, in accordance with the increase that has taken place in inflation, just like they do with pensions and quite a lot of other things. I think it would be excellent if we were in this 90 minutes or whatever it is to be able to get that message across. And if we get the kind of people that at the dispatch box later, maybe they will be able to give me a nod and a wink in that direction. But it's mainly because of the two people from the Scott Nats and the Tory party that have actually raised the issue, and I've seized upon it. Yes, I remember the time when mesothelioma was brought in, and it was brought in by one of my colleagues from Barnsley, Mick Clapham. He's not in the House of Lords like Lord Hutton. He ought to have been, I suppose, in a way. But he was the one that came with this funny sounding word that is very difficult for people to remember, mesothelioma. And I thought, how does he manage to get it out of his mouth? So I had to practice it at night. Yes, it's very much important, very important to remember Mick Clapham and the fact that he seized upon this very important subject. Because, yes, I will give way.
Tracy Pratt.
I remember Mick Clapham because for my sins, and for which I have repented in my rebellions over the mesothelioma ad, I worked for the insurance industry, and Mick was the bane of our life, particularly around compensation for mesothelioma for those that couldn't find their employers, but also around pleural plaques. And the Honourable Gentleman is quite right to recognise the sterling work that he did to change hearts and minds, not just on those benches, but on these benches as well, for the plight of those who do suffer from asbestos-related diseases.
Yeah, I'll get on the phone to him and I'll remind him about the events of today. Seriously, because I think that if I can tell him that there's going to be an automatic yearly increase, it will be a token to him and to all those that took part in that exercise at that time. So I'm very pleased to be here and very pleased to be taken. I'll give way.
I just thought it would be important for the House and it to be on the record, Mr. Deputy Speaker. I didn't think probably the Honourable Gentleman from the honourable gentleman from Bolsover, never thought he would agree with me, or let alone his colleague. Well, he has, actually. He has. But this is why this House is so important, that we can come together and say what is right and what is wrong and what can be done. And I think if we come together to put a little bit of pressure on the Minister, not at the dispatch box so much today because she will be dragged over the coals, I should think, by the time, but with the Secretary of State and with the Treasury, to just simply say this must be easier for you as a government rather than bringing this forward, and we can unite on this path.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, the fact is that it would be a breath of fresh air away from Brexit. Yeah. I mean, that's my selling point. This is something that the government will be remembered for, and I'm going to tell Mick Clapham on the phone that it's on its way and all the rest of it, and it is an exercise away from that torment of Brexit, which even I never thought would reach this stage of argument. And I'd been voting against almost on my own for about 10 or 15 years, against every treaty. And I'd walk into the lobby and sometimes I would bump into our leader. And I would say, what are you doing here? Because I used to think I should have been on my own. However, those days are not to be argued, that event is not to be argued about today, because we want to concentrate on this issue. And let me say at the outset that I want to commend my honourable friend from the front bench who has put the case very well indeed, and with all my experience of representing people in the pits, I know how difficult it can be. And so I want to ensure that we make something out of this, and as I say, that yearly increase would be marvellous. I just want to finish by saying that I thank everybody that's taken part in this mini debate. It's very important, because when you think about the problem with mesothelioma and asbestos, you realise just how we're lucky to escape from it. Many of us go through life and never realise that we're so close to all those things. My father was the same. He went for pneumoconiosis. He'd worked 50 years in the pit, and he went for the test. And they said, well, he'd got it, but he didn't qualify because he was less than 10%. And I've found countless others who fell into that same trap. That's another thing I would ask the Minister to look at, this question of pneumoconiosis, because although it wouldn't make any difference to my father, he went a long time ago, the truth is that there are a lot of people that need some help, need a helping hand in that regard, and I met one, and I was speaking to one today. So I thank everybody for taking part in this debate. It's very important. It means that those people that are suffering from meso that have been left on the shelf, and those with pneumoconiosis, and there are thousands of them still in the mining areas in particular, and especially in Wales. I found out through my own experience working in the pits that in Wales the level, it may have been the anthracite, I'm not sure, but it's pretty clear they did mine a lot of anthracite in Wales, and their pneumoconiosis levels were sky high as compared to some other areas of the mining districts. So that's a thing to remember. So I want to compliment everybody that's taken part in this debate, because it's very important and it means a lot to those people that are suffering, hanging on, especially those with mesothelioma and that have been affected by asbestos in particular, that pleural plaques and everything else, believe me, it's almost like a death sentence the moment that they get it. Pneumoconiosis is slightly different from a medical point of view. It's bad enough. Yes, I will give way.
For the honourable gentleman giving way at the end of his speech, I just wanted to echo his thanks. So it's 30 years and 1 month exactly to the day when my father died of mesothelioma, having served his apprenticeship in the docks in Glasgow and Burma before then. He wasn't able to claim. My mother was not able to claim at that time. She didn't know where to claim, how to go about it. So thank you, everybody, for the work that's been done.
Well, the story goes on, and if I can stay on my feet long enough, there'll be some more. Because there's no doubt that it's affected a lot of people, whereas pneumoconiosis was almost entirely connected to the mining districts. The truth is that this is a killer disease, and one that we've got to be able to keep our eye on and assist in all the ways that we possibly can, today and in the future. We shall be, all of us, on the phone to tell our friends that we've managed to get this issue discussed and debated in a way that it's not a static thing, that we've actually decided, a lot of us, that it'd be a good idea to always remember them. Thank you very much.
Minister.